Hi guys, Rose here with the Cackling Moon. This is going to be a client's intuitive tarot session. So hello my client, my love, how are you? We're going to be reading about your three questions that you asked for the session. Love life, career, and your spiritual practice, mostly concerning your witchy practice. So the intuitive tarot session, there is no set spread. This way, those of you guys who are watching, this is me pulling cards. It's almost like I treat it as if you and I were sitting face to face. It's how I usually run my in-person sessions. So there is no set spread, and I'm just going to be pulling intuitively. We're give you readings. Sometimes some channeled stuff comes through, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the person. And we'll just tap into all of that. So I have the Tarot of Vampyres here, and I also have the Halloween Oracle, and I'm most likely going to be pulling from another tarot deck. I think I'll pull from the Trick or Tarot, just in case I need, an extra deck on hand, because sometimes these intuitive readings get a little, complex at times. And since we're dealing with multiple questions, I want to make sure that I get everything answered. So first things first, we're going to start with the career and the your spirituality, because I feel like I could go on and on with love, and I don't want to start with something that I love to read a lot about and then not have enough time for everything else. So I want to start off with the career and your spiritual practice. And I want to see right now where you're at, how you are feeling with your career. Just to give me an idea of what we're playing with. So we have the Strength, we have Four of Scepters, which is the Four of Wands, Judgment, and Ten of Cups. So this job that you have, it is a major pillar in your life. It is actually one that suffices your needs for financial stability. And I get that with the Strength card and the Four of Scepters. Strength is telling me that this job is one that you wouldn't want to let go of, energetically speaking. Okay, so this is my interpretation to you is this position, this job that you are in, it's fulfilling things that you need at this moment in time. It is a strong job. It looks like it's going to be around for a while, so it doesn't look like it's going to be one that is going to make you feel like it's going to be wishy-washy or that kind of thing. So if you have been worried about that, just know that it's there to stay, at least for the time being. The Four of Scepters tells me that it allows you to be stable in your, in everything else that you want to do. So whenever a Four of Wands card comes up to me, it's a card of stability. It's a card of just being grounded, having all of your things in order. So I feel like this position, this job, your career path in general, it's been a long time coming for you to actually feel that way, for you to actually feel super secure about it. It's probably a relief for you, to be honest, because I feel like there was a time when you were struggling, and you were struggling to, worrying about money, worrying about the bills being paid, that sort of thing. But I feel like since maybe at least 2 months or so, you really haven't been able to worry so much over little things like that. Maybe you have noticed that energetic shift in your work life where you may not be 100% satisfied with your job most of the time, part of the time or so, but when you really look at it, it is something that is allowing you to tackle other projects and do other things. The only thing that you mentioned in the email is that you feel like your mundane life versus your mystical life, they clash, and you feel like you can't, or you don't know how to connect the two, which is why I want to read for your spirituality at the same time. So more so with the job, with Judgment and 10 of Grails, I feel like Judgment is saying maybe you feel a little bit, you feel guilty at times. Maybe family or friends have said, you know, your schedule sucks, or your availability isn't what it used to be. Maybe you've been missing family gatherings, because we have a 10 of Cups here. And the 10 of Cups to me is like a family card. This card doesn't really express it. This is more of a expression of euphoria. But I feel like maybe there's been some invites that you've had to say, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't make it, I have to work. Or I'm sorry, I can't make it, I have this thing that I got to do, whatever. Like, because of the schedule or just the impact, the kind of work that you are doing, it leaves you with little to no energy for other things, the other pieces of your life that normally you would like to enjoy. I have Lady de los Muertos, acceptance and equality. So I feel like the Oracle is kind of saying, what you've been working on and what you need to be kind of focusing more so is finding a balance. Acceptance and equality is like being able to accept the position that you're in, the arrangement that this job has created in your life. But you don't want to get into the habit of letting your job run your life. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to get in that habit of allowing the schedule to tell us I can't go enjoy things with my family and friends. Because the moment you do that, it's really hard to pull yourself out of that hole. I feel it as if once you give power to that force of work, it's really hard for you to switch it up, because then your bosses and your coworkers will begin to rely on you in other ways. They will say, oh, this person is actually a hard worker. They're willing to do this and that. And they're going to always expect that of you. You know what I mean? So with work, it's a gentle balance of, you know, you want to do your job and you want to be professional and whatnot. But at the same time, if other people are not pulling their weight, you shouldn't be the one taking on more than what you need to. You know what I'm saying? That is a complete channeled little tidbit for you. I feel I always feel like when I'm channeling, it's the words come out so smoothly, like I'm not even stumbling. And that feels like that was channeled for you. So I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe this is something that you've personally been battling with. It's like you don't want to feel guilty, or you don't want to feel like you're judging, you know, your coworkers, your boss, or even your love for your work in general. But at the same time, you see the other side of the coin, which is sometimes you do put more of yourself into work, and you want to be able to do less of that and more so in your family dynamic. It's also fire and water because of the wands. We have wands and cups, fire and water, which are opposite elements, by the way. They do not complement one another. They actually are opposites. Fire will will boil the water. So fire will test the water's patience, but water can also put out the fire. So what I want to see for you with work is being able to make some sort of a balance, some sort of an acceptance of equality with the work you do. You don't have to completely love your job, but you also don't have to hate it at the same time. I hope that makes sense. Let's pull on the spiritual path, because I feel like this is going to link. I feel like your spirituality, your witchiness kind of somewhat overlaps your job, because most of the mundane things in our life has to do around work. You know, unless you really, truly love what you do, you know, we find our work life to be kind of a hindrance on us to be able to do the things that we really want to do with our time. And when we're devoting so much of ourselves to work, it could be easily, you know, ruined. So this is your witchy path, your witchy craft, your practice, your spirituality, whatever you want to call it. And I pulled for you the 2 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles, the 6 of Swords, and the Queen of Wands. And it's interesting to me because the work life is expressing fire and water, and the mystical side, your witchy path, is expressing pentacles and swords. So your witchy side, the kind of things that it brings to you is grounding with the earth energy, as well as mental clarity. So it actually helps you think clearer, or it helps you feel more in touch with your mind. Versus when you are at work, I could see with the wand suit being physical or passion. Physical is meaning like you are putting all of your workforce, your body, into your work. You're not really using your swords. You're not really thinking much. You're just kind of physically doing what you got to do. And then with the cups, your heart, you want your heart into your work, but is it necessarily involved with it right now? And that's the thing, like that's where we kind of all strive to be with work, is putting our heart into what we do. If our heart is in it, then it's easier for us to love what we do. If that makes sense. So for your witchy side, the Two of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles is telling me that you always come up with little projects or ideas. There's little spell work things that you do. Two of Pentacles is saying you're usually indecisive. Maybe you're always feeling like you're juggling a lot of the things you do, and unfinished projects, because I have the Three of Swords here, the Three of Pentacles, which is a card of like rebuilding, recreating. You're fixing things, sometimes you have to tear down a structure in order to rebuild it. So you're constantly like revamping, redoing your spirituality. That's like something that is probably the most, how do I want to say it? It's the most unbalanced in your life versus your job. Obviously, you're going to get paid every 2 weeks or whatever, however you get paid. So there's stability there. But with your mystical life, with your witchiness, your craft, there's not as much of a consistency, I feel. I'm just getting the feeling of like you'll start something new and then you'll forget about the project, or you won't have time to finish it. And so you're just constantly feeling like you are starting new things and then you leave them to fester and you're not able to do much about it, and then you lose interest. And then that makes you feel like am I being real with myself, with my practice, and that kind of thing. The Six of Swords and the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is showing that this is where your passion lies, your craft. This is where you feel completely on fire about what you do. This is where your purpose is everything. Your craft is very important to you. It makes you feel like a queen. It makes you feel like you are in charge. Queen of Wands, that fire energy, like we're talking about with the workspace. This is where your true passion is, in your craft. And the Six of Swords is telling me, because it's facing the Queen of Wands, that this is actually an escape for you. So when you are involved in your craft or any sort of ritual or anything having to do with your spiritual practice, the Six of Swords kind of reveals this is the way you de-stress. This is the way that you probably let go of a lot of the shit from work, is in your craft. But you kind of want to, like you said, you want to blend the two. We have jack-o'-lantern, we have protection. I love it. So I love that the jack-o'-lantern with protection message came up, is saying, protect what's special to you. This is gentle stuff. This is intimacy. Protection is, maybe you do a lot of protection spells or protection rituals. Maybe you like to, focus a lot on that because maybe the workspace isn't always ideal. Maybe you have certain coworkers or there's customers that come in or whatnot. I don't know what kind of work you do, but some people in the workplace could be problematic, and maybe you feel that's where your craft kind of comes through. Also, it's just important for you to feel protected and to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to maintain that in your space and yourself. But how do we blend the two? How do we make both of these little pathways, these lifestyles, mold and work together? So let's pull on that. Let's see. That's no wonder I felt like I wanted to use 2 different decks. How are we going to blend the two? So let's pull with the tarot. So Tarot of Vampyres will obviously represent the work life. What do you need out of your work life and what do you need out of your spiritual practice to kind of make the two blend. I'm already going to say, just based on my own personal experience, if you work in a space that allows you to have your own cubicle or your own desk or office or whatnot, just like your own space that is yours to go to, no one else really touches it, then I would recommend bringing things from home. A salt lamp, you could bring crystals, you could bring some sage, some spray so you could cleanse your space. Anything that will remind you or make you feel like you're at home, you know? Make a little, like a very gentle altar space at work to make you feel like this is your sacred corner that you could go to. If you don't have that ability at work, so maybe you are more of a fluid worker and you don't really have your own space, then carry a crystal with you. So, you know, you can easily find tumbled stones, and these are really fun. You could throw them in your bra, you could throw it in your purse or your pocket. I like to carry a stone in my pocket because there are times where I'm working at a desk and I don't have my own space really at my job. So I tend to carry a crystal with me. Sometimes I'll wear a piece of jewelry that makes me feel good. And I'll always carry my cards in my purse so that I could kind of go through them when I'm on a break or whatever. But it helps. It really helps to pull out a crystal and hold it and, you know, just roll your hands through it, and take away some of that pressure or that tenseness that you might feel in the workplace, you know, and different crystals have different properties. So you can always do that. That's what I have to do because I don't have my own little space. I have a desk that I could sit at to check my email and whatnot, but it's not necessarily mine. We actually share it. So I don't want to put any of my personal things there because I don't want to, you know, make anyone else feel uncomfortable if they don't agree with my practice, or I don't want someone stealing my shit, you know. So so that's just how I feel. But so the work life, you got the Daughter of Grails. So that is the Page of Cups. And then we have the Moon. I love it. So how can we blend the two? You know, I feel like Moon is all about ritual. Moon is all about spells and whatnot. And then we have the Page of Cups, which could be all about the heart or messages or whatnot. So to me, it's kind of like I feel like basically it's creating your own sacred space, you know, and also understanding that just because you were at your day job doesn't mean that you are no longer the image of who you see yourself as, you know, in your practice, in your spiritual practice, a witch, or, you know, the moon can represent your mystical side. It's always still a part of you. It's just sometimes we have to morph into a more professional demeanor, so that we can be available to any person in any kind of lifestyle or belief system. I'm not saying you're bending over backwards for people, but I am saying, like, when you are at work, you're at work, and you're at work for a specific reason, and that is to do your duties, you get paid, and then you go. Work is meant to suffice your needs in life versus actually, you know, all of that. But it depends. Like, if you do your own thing, like if you work out of home, like for me, I work out of home part time, and then the other part of my work life is in a facility. So it just depends. But like I said, with the crystals and whatnot, there's little ways that you could bring a piece of you to work. But ultimately, if you can't blend the two, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It just means you don't have those capabilities of doing so. And maybe one day you will be able to. Maybe one day you can, you know. But in the meantime, I would say don't sweat it. I would say, you know, use your sacred time to be involved with your witchy practice in your own private time, or, you know, join a coven. You know, you can do a meetup with other people who are interested in stuff, take a class at a metaphysical shop, or you know, get to know other people who are into the same stuff, so that on the weekends or on your days off, you know, if you want to get together with people, you can actually feel connected. So maybe that's what you're lacking. Maybe that's what you feel like you need a little bit more of, is taking a class to kind of refuel your hunger for a spiritual connection. maybe it's not so much wanting to, you know, blend the two. And then maybe one day you can with a business, or, you know, selling a product or creating something that you could sell and make some money for. It just depends. But I want to talk on your love life because we're now 20 minutes in. So let's roll with the love life. How is your relationship right now? Ooh, we have 10 of Skulls, or 10 of Pentacles. Cross with the Tower. We have Death in the past. 3 of Knives in the future. The Star. Lord of Skulls. The Chariot. Prince of Skulls. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is there's going to be a fight or flight, okay? I feel like that's what's popping up. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be a breakup or anything like that, but it has potential to go that direction with the 3 of Swords in the future tense if you guys don't do well with this Tower moment. So the Tower moment is kind of what's crossing you, what's going to be challenging you at that time. And this is all talking about, you know, in the possible future. So also keep in mind when I read in future tense, Tower and the 3 of Knives, that things in the future can change at a moment's notice based on your present actions. So just because I say 3 of Swords is in the future, you know, and maybe you interpret that as, oh my God, we're going to break up. It doesn't mean that you're going to break up. It just means that if things don't work out, if things are shaken up with a Tower energy, that means there's going to be a shakeup, a rift. Maybe you guys are going to have your first fight. I don't know how long you've been together, but it feels new to me. So if you guys have maybe your first major fight and it feels like it's like rockiness and stuff, I feel like a fight or flight is going to be kind of like that situation. So that's just something to keep an eye out for. It's actually meant to give you kind of guidance to prepare. Okay. So, so like I said, with the 10 of Skulls right now, your relationship is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's grounded. It's fulfilling. There's a lot of other people involved. With 10 of Skulls is making me feel like maybe you've already met the family of him or her, and they have met your family. So basically, it's established that it is something serious. Okay. And with that, when you start to invite other elements, other people into your relationship, when you meet their parents, when they meet your parents, and you meet their friends and they meet your friends, you are literally creating opportunities for outsiders to kind of have a little bit of a say-so in your relationship. So that's also making me feel like just be wary of that. Be aware of that. I should say, not wary. Be aware that the moment you start allowing other elements into your relationship and people are in the know of who you are and who they are, you just want to be careful that you don't start to resort to going outside of your relationship for help and for advice. Now, it's okay to talk about your loved one to your friends and in a nice manner. But if you feel like you're turning your back on your loved one to gossip about them or gossip about your issues with other people, I always say that is not a good thing to do. So I just feel called to kind of put that little factor out there. The challenge card being the Tower is telling me that there's going to be, like I said, it feels new. This relationship feels fresh energetically to me. And by fresh and new, anything that is under a year to me is a new relationship. Okay. So I feel what the Tower is, maybe you'll be experiencing your first major fight, your first major misunderstanding, that sort of thing. Or the Tower can show, maybe your grounding is shifting. Your relationship is starting to shift into a new phase of itself, which is always a good thing. But with that always has to crumble other stuff, just like in the past. The Death card coming up in your past is revealing, obviously, one of you left a major relationship. So one of you left a major relationship, or one of you really had to pretty much say goodbye to something or someone or a feeling or an emotion. You had to do some huge transformation to get to where you are in the present. And so this could be you or your significant other or both of you. But basically it's whenever a death card is in the past, it's like someone went through something big. Okay. And sometimes when that isn't always completely forgiven or moved away from, this stuff can kind of creep into the present. So maybe that's what's happening with the Tower. Okay. And then with the future sense, with the Three of Knives, I feel depending on how you deal with this Tower situation, the Three of Knives can kind of show, is this a betrayal card? Is this a card of maybe it's feeling nostalgia for whatever this death card represents. Maybe there's some regrets. Maybe there's some... because technically the Three of Knives or the Three of Swords it's usually not looked at as a positive. It just looks, it basically looks at like your emotions, your heart is tested, and how much are you willing to allow your heart to be tested before you say, I'm done, that's it, it's broken, you know. I don't look at this as a negative omen. Like I say, future is, this will change. This can be different tomorrow. I'm just saying that in this present energy, this is what's coming up. And it all basically depends on what happens with the Tower. How do you react to this Tower moment? How does your significant other act? You know, are you in a fight or flight mode, or do they have potentials to be a fight or flight person, you know? Fight or flight meaning, are you going to fight for your relationship, or are you going to just fly away and say, I can't deal? You know what I mean? So I feel like my intuition is telling me whatever this death card moment represents for you or your significant other, this stuff might be creeping up. So there's, the past is creeping up with the present is what I want to say. Okay. So the bottom cards is kind of, I look at this as like support systems, or like just what can we do with the situation. So we have the Star, which is actually very promising. It's a card of healing. To come right below the death card tells me that whoever is dealing with a lot of this shit from the past, they are still in healing mode. So maybe this can show that someone was quick to jump into the next relationship. That's not always a bad thing, but I am saying that that has potential to create Tower energy when this person feels maybe they're not quite where you're at yet, you know, or maybe you're not quite where that person is at yet. Maybe you're noticing feelings are not as even, is what I want to say. Maybe one person is falling hard for the other and the other hasn't really quite got there yet. You know what I mean? So just, those are just possible possibilities. I'm just putting it out there. But the Star is kind of revealing there's still a process of healing. So whoever is doing that, whoever is in this mode of healing in the present relationship, just be understanding of that person. So whether it's you or your lover, just try to approach it as understanding. Don't judge them. Okay. And it doesn't mean that their feelings for you are invalid. It just means that they have some other issues to deal with before they can be 100%. Okay. Lord of Skulls. So this is the Knight of Pentacle, is a card of patience. This, this card doesn't depict that very well. In fact, this one actually reminds me of the Lord of, or the Knight of Swords. But the Knight of Pentacles is technically a card of patience. So I feel like in this process, during this Tower moment, it is very important that when you understand the situation, you come from it in a healing, loving, and have faith manner. And then you also have patience through this process. Sometimes it takes a while for a person to be able to fully let go of their death card, to fully let go of something of the past. Okay? But it doesn't mean that they don't love you or they don't connect with you. It just means they have their own little bullshit to get through. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes longer than others. People are different. And then we have the Chariot. And the Chariot card is, to me, it's a card of moving forward, moving on, taking action. So rather than sitting and dwelling about the Tower moment or dwelling about the past, there needs to be action in order to move forward. And the Chariot card is kind of like saying someone needs to take action. If you get into the mode of sitting and dwelling and just being too patient and there's no movement. So maybe that's why this knight looks like he's in movement, because it's actually urging you to not sit and dwell about it too long. If action is not taken, then perhaps this Three of Swords can start to manifest, you know? So what you guys need is, when you hit a rift in your relationship, if you're putting action towards it and you're doing things to actually make it move, you could be successful, you know? But if you're in a tower moment and you're both just focusing on the negative and you're both tearing at each other and you're fighting and you're giving the cold shoulder and you're not talking to one another and there's no movement, then yes, the Three of Swords I could see manifesting. So do you see what I mean? What I'm saying? It's like you have the ability to change how you react. How you react to this major moment is going to define your future of your relationship, so to speak. And then I pulled the owl, wise seeing, wise action. So the owl is basically saying, when you take action with a Chariot, make sure you are looking at it from all eyes, from all perspectives. An owl is wise and patient, but they see everything. Their eyesight is amazing. So when you are in this tower moment, make sure you are observing your situation and your partner's situation from all angles. Think of it as, I think of the Hangman card. Think of it as the Hangman, where you have to look at your situation from other people's perspectives in order to understand all of it. When you're just looking at it from your eyes, of course you might see it as you're hurt or you're upset or you're angry. But when you're looking at it from your partner's eyes, or from a stranger looking in on your relationship, or Rose is my eyes, how I'm seeing it, you know, it's different perspectives. So that's just a little, kind of like a little tip for you too. Wow, what a reading. I love it. I love when they flow, because that means whatever is coming through is just, there's connection. So we're just about at the 30-minute mark. I just want to leave you with one little piece of freshness, because it's not easy to receive a Three of Swords in a love reading. We have the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is, what is that? That is like that is kind of, it looks like she wants to cut his throat, right? And he's, it's like the lies and the deceit card. It's like, don't fuck with me. Don't, do that, blah, blah, blah. Take this card to kind of symbolize, you need to make sure that you're being transparent with your lover, and your lover needs to be transparent with you. There is nothing positive that will come out of a relationship when one person is hiding something from the other. So if you feel that maybe this is what is happening, or someone's not being completely open about their past, this is maybe a time, maybe your relationship is growing and it's evolving to the point where you do need to have a deep talk about things that maybe you thought, well, once we hit the year mark or whatever, we'll talk about it. Maybe it's time you guys start talking about some of those things. Maybe it's just a sign that your relationship is evolving and growing. You guys are becoming more serious together. And with that comes having to address other more uncomfortable topics. So with that, my love, thank you so much for allowing me to connect with you. I hope this helped. Leave me a message, send me an email if you have any questions. And anyone who's watching, this is the Intuitive Tarot session. Thank you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, my loves.